Hello. So I've already got some people here. I don't know how you managed to comment before it starts, but hello to everyone. Keeks yourself now. Well done, Keeks. You've done well. Um, yeah, so I'll just say hello to these people. Hope you're still here. Hello to Andy from Derbyshire. Th- Thank you for the comment. I really appreciate it. Obviously, I'm fully committed to keeping up the work, so that's not a problem. Hello to Gwyneth. Hello to Rob Lee. Hello to John Kinsler. Hi to Lil Unicorn. Hi to R. Smallfield. Hi to Rangecraft. Hi to Red Tape. Hi to Vivian. So I'm going to go to. I just need to go to my little thread here because people raised some questions in there. I'm sorry I didn't give much notice today, by the way, but I literally been working on a load of stuff, and I just thought, have I actually got time to take 2 hours out of my life? And then I realized, oh, I do, because I got what I needed to get finished, and then I thought, yeah, I've got time. So I didn't get much time to give you any notice. So there's a few. I've got a few questions here. Let me just note all these down. Hold on. So I'll return to these in a second. So yeah, hello to Asymmetry. Hello to Stuart. Hello to Claire Leslie. He says hi to Keeks. Keeks is over there now. Now Keeks has done something that's very annoying, which is she's lying too far away from me to reach her. Now what she's likely to do is start crying, but not be willing to move. That's her favourite trick. So we'll see what she does. And I'll have to go, Keeks, come here, like this. Hopefully she'll. Yeah, she's having a sniff now. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the book. Had so many kind remarks. So I've been working on that over the last few days. Still working hard on it. Just making sure we get the final version together. So it'll be coming soon, and excited about people having the chance to read it and everything that's involved. So I actually have booked to do the recording of the audiobook now, so I'll be doing that relatively soon. I must say that I don't know what YouTube is going to look like in the next couple of months because I've been doing it in a quite uniform way for quite a long time, and over the next couple of months, I don't know what's going to happen exactly. So I don't quite. Also, I'm not going to be living where I am now, as you may see in a future live stream, if I'm able to do them. I'm going to be living somewhere else for a while. So I don't know if I'll be able to do more live streams. I don't know what form the channel will take. I think I was thinking the other day, as I get closer to the launch date, I would like to try and do shorter videos, but do one every day. Now, whether I'll be able to do that, I don't know, but I'm going to have more time to at least think about what I'm doing. It's literally been a bit of firefighting over the recent months to try and keep making videos and keep the channel going, make them interesting. So I think I've done quite well, but over the next month, I'll kind of rethink what I'm going to do, and we'll go from there. And I don't know what my life's going to look like as I, record the audiobook, and then as the run up to release occurs, and then the release occurs, I don't know what's going to be happening. I don't know how busy I'll be. I don't know if I'll be traveling. I don't know where I'll be in the world. However, the good thing is that at some point I will have finished the book. And then at that point, of course, that job's done. So that'll give me more time to think about YouTube. I really haven't had much time to think. Like, for example, the video that came out today, I recorded that ages ago. I can't even really. I mean, I was reading the comments and I'd forgotten I'd said some of the things that I said. I know roughly what's in it, and it was coming back to me as I read your comments. But it's just I try and do a bit of YouTube and think, right, I can park that for a while, but things will get easier from now on. But I don't know what things are going to be like over the next couple of months. Anyway, I'll say hello to a few more people. Hello to Yelda. Hi to Sandra Johnston. Hi to Zoe. Hi to Joanna. Hi to Tink. Hi to Truth Will Out. Hi to Mark Wilkinson. Hi to Kathleen White, that is. Hi to Denise. Hi to Thomas. Hi to Ruth. Hi to Fence Up. Hi to Faye. Hi to Pete. Hi to Keith. Hi to Darren. Hi to Murray. Hi to Di. Good evening, fantastic. You'll be putting the book out in audio. I can't wait. Thumbs up. I'll be listening. Hope you've had a good week so far. Yeah, it's been really good. I have lots of things to announce in the next couple of months, probably. So, all just working towards that, really. It's been hard work getting to this point, and then doing YouTube as well. But I managed to keep everything going and not completely ruin my life. So that's good. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to people hearing and reading it. Of course, going into a recording studio to record a book is a completely new experience for me. It'll be very interesting. I've obviously got a reasonable amount of experience from recording these videos and doing these live streams and so forth. So, unlike when I make these videos, there'll be a producer there. There's 2 people there to help me. So, it'll be an interesting process. Hi to Bernie. Hi to Emma. Hi to Bren. Hi to Cheryl. Hi to Barry. Hi to Joanna. Going to Hay Festival next week. Hope to see you at some literary festival soon. Yeah. Someone who's been on the channel is going to the Hay Festival. So if you keep your eyes open, you might recognise who it is. I won't say in case he doesn't. Well, I said it's a he now, so that narrows it down. So in case he doesn't want me to tell you, I won't say who it is, but just keep your eyes open. But yeah, I'd love to go to the Hay Festival in the future. It's a little bit early this year, but I definitely intend to do some literary festivals and such like. That's in the hands of my people. I've never had people before, but I've got people now, so they can sort that out for me. So yeah, I definitely want to do some literary festivals, and I'm sure that I will. Hi to Thomas. First question from me. I was thinking about this previous and also today. Is the cover art finalised? If so, can the mugshot of Lucy not be used? I assume it's now just an example. No, so the cover art is definitely finalised. So basically, as I said on this channel previously, initially, none of us really wanted to use an image of Lucy because there were sensitivity considerations, I think, apart from anything else. And everyone's seen that mugshot ad infinitum. So initially we didn't want to use it, but then basically a few people advised us. Let me just turn my mobile upside down so it's not going off every 5 seconds. Basically, people advised us, look, you'd be stupid not to put Lucy's image on the front cover, which I kind of knew. I knew that in my head. So when I got that advice, and some of you said that, I mean, I remember one particularly memorable comment was saying, come on, you've got to put Lucy's image on the front cover. I mean, you're an idiot if you don't do that, which he or she was absolutely right. So we tried to do it in the most creative and sensitive way possible. We also wanted to get an image that placed her in a nursing context. The problem with that was, firstly, getting an appropriate image that could be used as a cover image. Because you might think now, oh, you could just use any image for cover image. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. There's kind of technical and logistical issues in creating a cover that's appropriate. And you can't just use any image, unfortunately. That's the first thing. The second thing is this problem getting clearance. So we were able to get clearance for this image. And believe me, that wasn't cheap. So another image we might have wanted to use, we might not be able to get clearance at all. You can't just say, right, we'll use this because we feel like it. You have to get permission to use the image, of course. That applies for any cover of any book, but for a book of this likely prominence, you can't just go around using other people's work without permission. So we pretty much had to use that mugshot, and without going into all of the technical reasons and all of the logistics, there's a reason why we chose that image. There's a reason why we used that particular image, and it is basically the only one we could possibly have used. So it wasn't a very difficult process of elimination. It just basically came down to, if we want to image of Lucy, we have to use that image. So let's try and use it as creatively as we can. So I've been pretty honest to say that I didn't come up with the idea of the jigsaw pieces, but I think that was quite an ingenious. I could pass that off as my idea, but it wasn't my idea. Keith is putting me off by making a nest next to me. So we had no choice in the end. We had to use that image. We tried to use it the most sensitive way possible. And it was either that or not use an image of Lucy, but we sought advice on that topic, and everyone said, look, you've got to use an image of Lucy. So basically that explains the cover to you. But yeah, that is absolutely finalized at this point. Hi to Cheryl. Can't wait for the book. I've pre-ordered, of course. I mean, so many people have, and people have ordered multiple copies and all kinds of stuff. So I'm really grateful for that. Of course, the main thing is, as well, is for us to get as many reviews as we can, as quickly as we can. But as the date of release approaches, I'll put more and more information out there, and we've got lots of things planned. There'll be lots of things coming up, so we'll get the message out there of why I've done this and why I need support and what kind of support I need. So I'm really grateful for everything I've received so far, both in terms of the book and also YouTube. On 7,200 subscribers now, we're on 1.5 million views, approaching 400,000 watch hours. So I'm aware that may start to accelerate rapidly now. I don't know what's going to happen, but if it doesn't, then I'm still really grateful for what I have now, which is an enormous support that I really appreciate. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to people seeing the book. And I mean, I actually just read the most recent version, the most recent draft from cover to cover. It's the first time I've been able to do that for a very long time, because it's just been a lot of research, a lot of tweaking, a lot of interaction with the publisher and making sure we're perfecting things. And I actually had the opportunity to sit and read it, and I thought, okay, I'm happy with that. I think it's powerful and strong, and I think people will enjoy it. And then I've had feedback from some people that you'll know, I won't say who, and that was really favorable. So, and I think when you see the names I've got to endorse the book, you'll be more than happy. I won't reveal those today or just yet, but when you see them, I don't think you'll be disappointed by that either. So yeah, I'm really looking forward for people to see it. Obviously, it's been 2 years of my life, really. I did start, I think, in May 2024. So it has literally been 2 solid years of work. And then also quite a lot of work behind the scenes. Actually, the hardest period was I'd started YouTube. I was seeking a publisher, and I was still working on the book, and I was still doing research, and I was doing all those things together. That was the hardest time, because not only was that hard work, but then I had to find the right publisher. And I got a lot of interest, but a lot of knockbacks. And then also I had to turn down publishers because they just weren't quite right. So that was a very difficult time emotionally, psychologically. And then I didn't want to show that publicly because, I was starting to get known, and I wanted to always be a positive, or try to be positive for the community. So that was quite a testing period, but I got through it in the end. And if you're determined and if you work hard, then you can accomplish anything. So I got to where I need to be with it. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to people seeing it, of course. Hi to Douglas. DI says, with the highest respect, Chris, you're not a nice man, you're a good man. You're a good man that's going to make a world of difference. It's going to change, and that change is coming. Well, that's very kind. I mean, all I do is I just try the hardest I can and try to set myself the highest standards. And obviously I've had overwhelmingly positive feedback, and I really appreciate that, but I don't let it go to my head, and I don't get complacent. I was talking about this the other week, about, you probably heard of this theory of marginal gains, that I think it was Brailsford, the guy who used to coach the British cycling team, used to say, just try and improve by 1%, just keep trying to improve by 1%. So, I think the great thing about doing writing is, as a career, there's lots of challenges, but one of the great things about it is that you can get better. And even at my age, where if I was playing tennis, I used to play tennis when I was younger, and I wanted to be a professional for a while, and then I wasn't good enough. Um, it played at national level and stuff, and I was decent, but that sounds impressive. But like when you play with people who want to play professionally, they're insane. So I knew I wasn't quite good enough. Um, but if I had been good enough and I had played tennis professionally, I mean, maybe if I'd worked really hard, I could have scraped onto the tour. I don't know. I doubt it, but obviously, at the age I'm now, I wouldn't be playing professionally, and I'd be getting worse and worse and worse at tennis. Obviously, the great thing about writing is you can get better. You can still improve. You can still discover things. You can still learn. You can still read other writers, and they can inspire you. There's still the potential there for you to get that 1% better every day, or 0.1% better every day at least. And that's just what the kind of goal I set myself to just think, however much I've done and however much I've achieved, there's always room for improvement, and just to keep trying to improve and trying to push forward. Hi to Topsy Turvy. Thanks for being here. There's a question about the image, but that's not entirely. Can't use the image of the scale of. There's going to be a question about. I don't quite know what you meant. You probably pressed enter by mistake. It's easily done, but yeah. Basically, we investigated feasible images, and we've used the only feasible image. Basically, I mean, there just is no other option. So that was kind of baked into the cake, really. Hi to Patricia. Hi to Lucy, another Lucy. So there's a couple of questions about who did you have to pay to get Lucy's image. So I think it's okay for me to say that it's Getty Images. Now, if you think about it, you might be able to guess how Getty Images ended up with this image if you think about it. And that's all I'll say at the moment. But you can, I mean, that's not a secret. You can go onto Getty Images and find it yourself. So, hi to Flying Foxy. The cover is great. Well, I mean, we had great feedback from the cover, which I was really relieved about, because I did say we're not going to have Lucy's image on it, and then we did. So the really strong feedback we had, which has been fantastic, really, which I think the cover designer deserves it, and I've made sure that they receive my gratitude. But yeah, that was a real relief for me, because you guys are the best barometer of whether it's tasteful, whether it's in line with what the community would want, whether it's effective, and so forth. And if you like it, then that's a great indicator for you. I still very much worry about Lucy's mental health, and will she ever be able to fully recover? Yeah, I mean, that's a concern. I think it'll be. I don't think anyone can ever reassure you about that. I don't think anyone can ever say, "Oh, she'll be okay. Don't worry about it. She'll definitely recover." That would be stupid for anyone to say that. Obviously, it's a very significant concern, and she may never recover fully. What we can say for certain is she'll never be the person she was before. That's impossible. This will profoundly change you. It must change you, but a new Lucy can emerge, who is happy, who is fulfilled, who has purpose, who is tough. I mean, she's strong to begin with, but if she was strong before, she's bloody going to be strong now. That's for sure. I mean, I was just reading the summary today, and there's a section where I just outline what she's been through. And I mean, for any human being to go through that and to still be standing with hope, as Mark described it, is a tough person. So she's going to be, I hope she can become someone. There's a question about Amanda Knox is the next question, but I hope she can become someone a bit like Amanda, who is an advocate, who has a platform, who speaks publicly, and so forth. But that's very much up to Lucy. I really don't. I tend not to think about that too much, because I can't control that or even influence it. All I can do is help in my way to raise awareness, and hopefully, hopefully get her out of prison ASAP. We can cross any other bridges when we come to them, but I'm certain there's going to be massive public support for Lucy financially. She's going to know she has enormous support. We'll make sure that she doesn't need to work again, and that she never needs to worry about money. And we'll go from there. All I can say and reiterate, I've said this many times, but I've seen Kathleen Folbig at close quarters. She lost 4 children, 4 of her own children. Her own husband turned on her, went to prison, 20 years in prison. I've seen her absolutely broken in the appeal hearing, crying. She lost her appeal again. Eventually, she managed to win, and they let her. And I've seen her at close quarters, and she was. You would never have known she'd been through that. I mean, she was so. It wasn't just that she was well adjusted. It was also that she was so bereft of any bitterness or any. She really was looking forwards and not looking backwards at all. And I found that extraordinary. So if she can do it, Lucy can do it. But first of all, we just need to get her out of prison, of course. What are people's views on Amanda Knox input? Divisive character, but she has done the hard yards when it comes to media trial and judiciary being less than straight. So the first thing I'll say is that I didn't follow Amanda's case, and I don't know very much about Amanda's case. What I do believe is that if you're in prison for murder and you're exonerated, then that doesn't usually happen for no reason. That's just Keeks. Will you stop that, please? Just waggling the desk. That's why I went up and down then. If you're exonerated for murder, there's got to be a very good reason for it. So if Amanda has been exonerated for murder, I assume there's a very good reason for it. She does seem to divide opinion, and I think some people seem to believe that, okay, I know some people still think she's guilty. I don't have an opinion on that because I don't know anything about the case. But all I'll say is, if you get out of prison for murder, it's tough. There's a tough level in any country. So if she's been exonerated, I personally assume that she's not guilty, but I don't know much about her case. Another thing that seems to annoy people is there was this slander case. I don't think she intended to be, slanderous. I think she was in a very difficult situation. I think people should empathize with the fact that she was facing murder charges, and that's very, very difficult for anyone. I don't know the full story, so I can't fully comment on that, but I wouldn't judge her too harshly on that. I also think, I don't know what people expect from her. She's been, assuming for the sake of argument she's innocent, she's been through a horrible life experience, and then she's just supposed to come out and go, oh, well, never mind. I'll just brush that under the carpet. And my this person died, so now I just need to sit in a darkened corner of my bedroom and never speak to anyone ever again and just live in continual sorrow because of, it's just not realistic. It's not fair. So I don't think those kind of comments are fair. And then I do think as well, lastly, she's a very outspoken, very assertive, very intelligent, and she's attractive as well. And that can, there can be like a degree of envy about that, I believe. So it seems to me that she was very harshly judged before the trial, with a lot of very personal comments about her appearance. It seems to me she continues to be very harshly judged today, given that I think the fact that she's very outspoken and very assertive as a woman, I feel if it was me, or any other man, it wouldn't be the same at all. And I think, and I mentioned this before, I think you can be very harshly judged as a man if you're in court for an extreme crime. But it's far, far, far less likely that people are going to start pulling your appearance to pieces, as they did with Amanda. Amanda was too attractive, so that's a bad thing. So they start making, she actually had sexual intercourse once, so obviously she's an nymphomaniac as well. Whereas Lucy didn't have a boyfriend. Lucy, she was too dowdy in court, so that makes her a bad person. Obviously, I mean, would anyone judge me in this way if I was in court or another man? I don't think so. I think it's quite sexist, frankly. In terms of a podcast, I think it's been excellent. I think she's a brilliant presenter, better than me, and I do the best I can with my presenting, but I think she's better than me. It's very professional. she's obviously done her research. There's lots of good information in it, and um, I've been quite impressed with it. Really, obviously, I've not learned very much because I know a lot about the case, but for someone who doesn't know about it, I think a fantastic primer into many different topics, and there has been new information in there that I didn't know, and there's been some interesting angles that she's covered, and I think she's absolutely sincere. And she didn't just come out; she made sure she did her homework and made sure that she could speak with authority on this topic. And I think, I view it as an overwhelming positive that she's involved, and I understand that she does divide opinion a bit, but I personally don't think that is fair. Um, yeah, so if anyone else has an opinion, please let me know. But I mean, there are no plans for Amanda to come on the channel, but if that did happen, she expressed an interest, or I mean, I've not approached her; she's very busy and has difficult to speak with. But if she did express an interest at some time, I'd definitely have her on 100%, because she's been through a life experience that very few people do, and she's a very articulate advocate for Lucy. So yeah, I would have her on for sure. Your family must be so proud of you. Yeah, I guess so. It's kind of you to say. So someone mentioned they liked the live the live broadcast, so you can like the broadcast if you want to help the channel, I guess. Just hold on, I'm just going to open the blind. It's quite sunny before, but the sun's gone in now, so I can put the blind up and have some light in here. I'm full of admiration for your tenacity and dedication, Chris, as well as your level-headedness and charitable attitude. And like some journalists, you've resisted the temptation to think emotionally. Thank you for that. This is from Richard. Yeah, that's very kind of you. I think it's very important because it would be, and I'm not knocking other people who've done this. Like I know Mark Mays, for example, will be a lot more emotional about things. And I love Mark. I respect Mark, and I've been on his thing, and I'll be on his thing again in the future, no doubt. But I mean, I just felt for me, especially given as I'm writing a book, it's important for me to not be too not just emotional, but no hyperbole. Just try and stick to the facts and try and back everything up, and try to be able to show people the truth and what really happened, and not. We've all got. I mean, obviously, I do get my opinion there sometimes a little bit, but I try to limit that even because, you've all got your own opinion, and I'm just here to try and tell you things that you don't know or may not know, and that's what I view my role is. And with that in mind as well, you talk about being level-headed and charitable. Obviously, on this channel and in my book, I have given some of the people involved with the prosecution an absolute hammering. So, also, I do try and see things from their perspective and try and be balanced if I can. It's very difficult to be balanced towards the police investigation, the court process, and the science that was used in court, because the police investigation was incompetent, the court process was troubling, shall we say, and the science is very, very poor. So for me to be balanced about that is almost impossible, but I do try to see it from the perspective of those who were involved. And one of the reasons for that is that they didn't do that. They weren't level-headed and balanced and charitable and objective. They should have done a much better job at being that. So I think if I'm going to criticize them for being blinkered, then I can't be blinkered myself, or at least I must try to be as objective as I can. So I do always set that as a kind of principle, because I think it makes it stronger. It's easy to rant and rave sometimes, but to try and see things from both sides is harder when you have a very strong tendency towards one side. And I guess this is still a polemical channel, and the book is still a fairly polemical book, I suppose. But I do try to see things from the other side as well. And I've always been looking for anything that points to guilt. It just doesn't exist. So someone's asking for the link to pre-order the book. So let me send you a few links. Just bear with me a second. So I'll put these in the links. There'll be at 8:30, 8:31 actually. So there's this one first of all. I think that's the right one. Yeah, it is. Bear with me. Here's another one. And here's another one. So those are 3 links to order the book. Let me just scroll back up. Hello, Chris and everyone. Annie from Brighton. Hi, Annie. Nice to have you here as always. David Ensor. Sorry, missed the start notification. No problem. Nice to have you here as always. You've done an amazing job, Chris. Thank you, Ruth. That's very kind. I just do the best that I can. That's all I can do. I pre-ordered from Amazon myself, so I thought that would be a good place for review when I come to write one. Absolutely, of course. Amazon is the #1 platform. It is very important for any book. But I will discuss that more in the future. But yeah, obviously as many Amazon reviews as we can. And I guess if I was going to hold the begging bowl out, one thing I would ask for is that if people that have pre-ordered from the publisher, if they could possibly conceivably get hold of the audiobook and then review the audiobook on Amazon or Waterstones, that would be very valuable. A lot of people have said they'll get the print version or the ebook version and the audiobook version. So if anyone could do that, or if people could do that broadly, that would be really appreciated. But of course, you don't have to. It's entirely up to you. It depends on your financial circumstances. I'm not saying I'm not saying that's an obligation, not at all. But of course, it would be appreciated. And reviews are just so important to get as many as we can, as quickly as we can. Could you explain constructive dismissal? How would that have played out for Lucy? And would that have meant she wouldn't have been able to work for the NHS again? Right, so constructive dismissal, bear in mind, I'm not an expert on this. Constructive dismissal is where you enter into what is essentially a legal process against your employer or with regard to your employer, where you say, and it will go to a tribunal. A tribunal, of course, is a legal process. It's not in a Crown Court. It's not in a court at all, as far as I understand it. Unless tribunals are held in courtrooms, but I don't think they are typically. But you will have legal representatives. Sometimes you'll have a solicitor, union reps, that kind of thing. And the basis of it really is that you are saying that you're, due to the unacceptable, unprofessional, and sometimes illegal conduct of your employer, they have made your position impossible due to no fault of your own. So you essentially say, I wish to be removed from the hospital, but I'm not resigning because then I'm just quitting and I don't get anything for my trouble. I'm going to leave and I will lose my position, but it will be via this avenue of constructive dismissal whereby you're paid sometimes a lot of money in compensation. For Lucy, it wouldn't have been as much because she hadn't been working there for very long and she was the lowest nursing band. You've seen, I don't think it's a constructive dismissal case, but you've seen Susan Gilby from the Council of Chester get £1.4 million in a tribunal. Lucy certainly would not have got £1.4 million. She may not have got £100,000, but she would have got a wedge of money to live off while she worked out what to do next, basically, rather than, right, I quit, or I go back up to work onto the unit where people have been accusing me of these horrible things. So constructive dismissal gets you out of there with a payment and gives you a chance to rebuild your life, basically. How it would have played out is that Lucy would very likely have won, overwhelmingly likely would have won. So she would have got compensation, and it would not have meant, in principle, she would have been able to work for the NHS immediately at another hospital, because what a constructive dismissal case means is that the hospital has behaved unreasonably, or your employer has behaved unreasonably and unprofessionally, and sometimes illegally, unlawfully, not yourself. You haven't done anything wrong. So it wouldn't have barred her, theoretically, from working for the NHS, but in practice, you know what goes on behind closed doors. So people might have said, oh, she's a troublemaker. Who knows? And when it came out why she'd gone for constructive dismissal, that might not have gone down particularly well. So she would have had an uncertain future if she'd have gone for a constructive dismissal, and it's not inconceivable that she would have had to change careers completely, which would have been heartbreaking for her. So it would have been a very difficult decision, but I still say it would have been the right decision. However, I do that with the benefit of hindsight. But I will say, I don't think I would go out into a workplace where people have been accusing me of what Lucy was accused of. I really don't think I would. Because you're just making yourself so vulnerable. You are so vulnerable in that situation. So I wish she'd gone with constructive dismissal, but at the end of the day, she didn't. We just got to deal with the current situation. So someone's saying they're not a fan of Amanda. Yeah, it's a good. I mean, I agree with you. It's good she's bringing some attention to Lucy's plight, and I'm not saying people have to agree with me. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I just think that we should cut her a little bit of slack for what she's been through, and she's an intelligent person, and she's highlighting Lucy's case, and I see that as a good thing, as you say yourself. So, any chance of getting Peter Hitchens on the channel? I think it's not inconceivable. Typically, he doesn't do. Yeah. I think it's possible. I think it's feasible that we could get Peter Hitchens on the channel. He's a difficult guy to get hold of because look, he does so much stuff, and he must get a lot of correspondence. So I can't say for certain that I'll be able to get him, but maybe I'll be able to get him one day. At the moment, over recent weeks, I've been so busy. Getting guests takes a bit of time, and I just haven't had time to invest in it. However, Michelle and Martin Pittman will be coming up soon in separate videos, and then I will work on some new guests at some point in the future. It's just been so difficult to balance everything. So yeah, hopefully I'll get some new guests soon. Do you have dates and venues for your book launch and signings? Please come to Liverpool. I don't yet. That's something I need to ask my publisher about because we had a big talk about lots of things. I'll let you know as soon as I can. I'll certainly be coming to the Northwest. It may be that I have to do either Manchester or Liverpool, but if I can, I'm not resistant to doing both. So if I feel that's justified and feasible, then I will. I mean, I don't want to spread myself too thinly, but it's that's up to my people to organise. But we're not quite at the point where I can announce the dates and venues for that yet. But we'll be going all over the country probably. I'll let you know as soon as I can. But I mean, I really appreciate the interest, and I guess when I do these signings or do these events, I might do readings at them. I don't know. I don't know what they'll look like yet. This is my first time doing a really big book where people want me to go to bookshops and such like. So I'll find out what that's like. But I'll let you know as soon as I can. Hi to Charles. Good to have you here as always. Hi, Chris. You're amazing. Everything you're doing for Justice for Lucy. Thank you. I really appreciate the support as always. Hi to Lynn. Hi to Paige. Thanks so much for this, Chris. My pleasure. Thank you for being here. Hi to Marble. Just reminding people to like the page. So that's always helpful. And just a reminder to people as well, when the live streams finish, I have to do a bit of stuff. I have to do a few administrative things behind the scenes to make the video work properly on YouTube. When I first did a live stream, I got loads of this doesn't affect you in any way, but I got loads of alerts behind the scenes because I didn't do what I usually do because I didn't know I had to. So I've learned from that, and now I know how to deal with the lives, and it's not been a problem for ages. So, but it just takes 10, 15 minutes to make it go live, and sometimes there's a little bit of a delay, but it will come on so people can watch the recording. Hi to Will. Mark McDonald said Lucy's nothing like the photos and videos out there. Lucy's a broken woman. Yeah. So actually, what he said, Will, was when he first met her, she was a broken woman, and now she has hope. But he hasn't seen the Lucy from the happy, smiling, irreverent Lucy photographs, which you would expect. I mean, at the end of the day, he's seeing her in prison, isn't he? She's not going to be dancing a jig. That's not realistic. I think that the fact that I've heard some positive things about her adjusting to life, working in the library, making friends even on the unit, that's something must be a very difficult thing to do. And then, Mark saying she has hope at least. I think that is all positive. She's not going to be there laughing, and it's just not going to happen. Hopefully that'll come one day. But I think things, from what I've heard, she's as well as can be expected under the circumstances, which are obviously awful. Hi to Mumbland. I can't read this out. I can't read your comment out. It's at 8:20 p.m. People can read that if they want to know what it was. I just can't read that out, unfortunately, for legal reasons. Hi to Adrian. Good to have you here. Glad you've had the chance to join the live. Really nice to have you here. Rachel, just seen that Lucy Letby Trials has just posted this. Yeah, I've seen this. So hopefully I'm going to put something together for that very, very soon. So you'll all find out more about that soon. I'll be analysing that as quickly as I can, and I want to try to get the people that authored it on the channel as well. So I'll try and arrange that as quickly as I can. We'll see how it goes. Hi to So Hard. Good to have you here. Really appreciate it. I'm sure Lucy will be free of bitterness. Yeah, I mean, she seems like that kind of person. I just know how I would be. I don't need, not so much bitterness, but I would be full of rightful indignation about what had happened. Righteous indignation. I just think, why this is so unfair. And now, you have to drag an apology out of people. It's just, I was amazed by Kathleen, but yeah, Lucy is the kind of person who will hopefully be that way. Yeah, so someone's saying we should start a fund to help her. So once the time is right, I will help with that 100%. I'm not saying I'll necessarily be the person that fronts it or launches it. I don't know if I will or not. Probably I won't be, because Mark would be the obvious person, or maybe he'd be the obvious person. I don't know. But we'll certainly sort out a fund though, so that Lucy can be sorted out. I'm sure she's going to get enormous support. Enormous. So as I mentioned, I don't have any plans of interviewing Amanda, but even though I know some people are not keen, but if I got the chance, 100% I'd have her on, and I am supportive of her. So, but I don't know if that will ever happen because she's, very busy. Hi, Rachel. Good to have you here. What did you miss? Just a little bit of discussion and such like. You can catch up on that in the future, hopefully. I have personal experience of rebuilding life after trauma, and I am even starting to help other people. I recently finished training to become a mentor for ex-prisoners. That's brilliant, Rachel. Congratulations. That's a very noble thing to do. So I'm really proud of you for doing that. Hi to David. Evening, Chris. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. I sincerely hope Lucy Letby can find a role from which she can find genuine purpose that endures. I agree with you. I think this is a situation where it's been very much thrust upon her. And, she will indeed need to find that purpose. And I'm sure she can. I'm sure she can. Hi, Chris. How can a retrial possibly take place given there's not a single basis of prosecution left? I think the state won't want any part of it, assuming conviction is overturned. Let me just put a light on because it's getting dark now, and I'll answer that question. There we go. Yeah, well, I've discussed this previously on the channel. I agree with you to a great extent. It's very difficult to see how there could be a retrial, but at the same time, if a retrial, if the prosecution barristers request a retrial, I don't quite know how it works in the Court of Appeal, but whatever process takes place, if the Crown Prosecution Service then said, well, we can't even raise a case, how embarrassing is that going to be for them? But then if they do have to go to court, that's going to be equally embarrassing. So it's very difficult to call what's going to happen, because whatever happens is going to be embarrassing. They really are stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I just don't know what will happen. But I do agree with you that it's very difficult to see how they can't use the original prosecution case, because the statistics which they relied on are total rubbish and would just be annihilated. So your guess is as good as mine regarding what happens, but I agree with you about the retrial, broadly speaking. Let's go a little bit further down. What was the new information in Amanda's podcast that you didn't know? Oh, I can't remember. Sorry. I think there's little bits and pieces like, well, I think one of the things is it's nice to hear from Rachel Aviv, wasn't it? It's the first time we've heard from Rachel since she wrote a brilliant article. So that was one of the things that really stood out for me. It was nice to hear her voice and nice for her to have the chance to speak after the New Yorker's been through some pretty difficult things due to the police. So that was one thing. I think, I mean, there wasn't, if I'm honest, there wasn't an enormous amount I didn't know, but just a few little tidbits here and there that I'd not heard before. So, yeah, credit to her. I think it's been an excellent podcast. Full respect, Chris. You're doing an amazing job, so detailed and factual. I did follow the Amanda Knox case, and I have so much respect for her and the good she's trying to do for Lucy and many others. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I do agree with you on Amanda, and it's not for me to impose my view on others. I know other people are not keen on her, and that's absolutely their right, of course. But I do think she's been through a hard experience, and I think we should try to be as fair as possible with her. Can Lucy take part of her convictions to the European Court of Human Rights like Amanda Knox? It's hard. It'll be hard for her because the European Court of Human Rights will tend to say she had a trial, it's a democratic country, it's a highly regarded judicial system, she had a fair trial, thanks for coming, but you can, the exit's over there, basically. So I'm not hopeful that would happen. I mean, let me tell you something. So I'm increasingly optimistic about Lucy's case. I feel more positive now than I have at any other time. I think it's getting harder and harder it would almost at this point, even now, it would be ludicrous for the system to say, oh yeah, but you could have just said that a few years ago, or the science used in court is rock solid. They're just going to look utterly ridiculous, and they're going to get such a hammering from the press, and they know that. And then also, there's going to be new stuff coming up. There's stuff coming soon that I can't talk about. Obviously, one of the things I can talk about is my book. We hope to raise the profile of the case significantly with that and have a really authoritative text that points to how unsafe this conviction is, that I researched for 2 years, and I uncovered there wasn't a stone left unturned. I did everything I possibly could. The only thing I didn't do was get every single sheet of the court transcript. I got everything I needed and everything I wanted to see, and I managed to get a lot of it. So I've looked at a lot of it now. If I could get all of it easily in one bite, then I would have looked at the whole thing. But because that's made so difficult. But through a bit of begging, borrowing, and the connections I managed to make, I've got a lot of it, and I've been through a lot of it, and a lot of it features. But everything else, I looked at every possible thing. I'm going to be doing a talk on this soon that will be either on the 19 Nurses channel or on my channel, and I'll explain the process. And it was a lot of work. So at the end of it, what we have is something that's, I think, quite authoritative. So that will enhance the situation. Someone has just mentioned this new thing that's come out today. That's beneficial. There's something else coming soon that you don't know about. That will be beneficial. And I think it's going to be so hard for them to say, yeah, this is a safe conviction. It's just, I really think that at the very least, a retrial will be ordered. And I think that was coming relatively soon. We don't know the time frame. We know the judicial system and the legal system moves at a glacial pace, but I really do feel quite confident now. So although the European Court of Human Rights is not necessarily an avenue that Lucy can explore, I do feel optimistic about the situation now. Definitely feel that some of the things we've seen from the Court of Appeal in the past, where they just go, "Oh yeah, you could have said that 3 years ago," or "We're perfectly happy with the original verdict." I just don't see that happening here because of the pressure now. Your dedication to Lucy's exemplary, Chris. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support, Sandra, as always. Thank you so much. Got the toddler to bed. Lots of work to do, so relying on you to keep me awake. I'll try my best. Once you've got the toddler to bed, these are the nirvana, the times of nirvana in your life. I mean, I've seen that. I've not had to do that role myself, but I've seen it done, and it's one of the hardest things to do in life, I think. So yeah, I'll try and keep you awake. I'll do my best. Shameful the CCRC is so slow, whilst people like Chris are disseminating large amounts of information and putting it into the public domain for all to see. Good work, Chris. Thank you, Jay. Yeah, well, all I can do is keep doing it. Obviously, I've got my book. We'll have to wait and see what happens. In a way, it's good that the CCRC are taking a while because it means they're looking at it thoroughly. If they're looking at it thoroughly, they'll refer it to the Court of Appeal in the right way, and that will give Lucy a better chance of the Court of Appeal. But I do feel optimistic at this point now because of the reasons I just mentioned. Let's go a bit further down. It's hard not to get emotional about this because of how she's been treated and what we know now. I agree. I mean, there are moments. I read through my own summary that I wrote today, and it made me emotional because I just, sometimes the enormity of it just hits you, and you just think, what am I dealing with here? What's happened to this woman? And it's scarcely comprehensible. I mean, I can't remember which episode or which video on the channel we were talking about Lucy being traversed from prison to Manchester. So she didn't live anywhere near it. She wasn't, to call it living, she's incarcerated. Calling it living's a joke to begin with. So this is in Yorkshire. I think she was incarcerated. So they're getting her up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, straight away for me, that's just painful enough in itself. Like, I mean, I'm reminded of the joke from The Simpsons. Like Bart has to get really early. He goes, "There's a 4 o'clock in the morning." That's very much my attitude to 5 o'clock in the morning. So that would be bad enough in itself. Then, she's got to do a really long journey every day, and not a comfortable journey in the back of a police van, probably handcuffed, more than likely handcuffed. And then into court, she has to sit. She's so traumatized that she asked to be allowed to sit in court before everyone else, so she doesn't have everyone staring at her as she walks into court. She's got a comfort blanket. Can you imagine that? That even just this is horrific. And then, imagine when she was convicted. You get, you're never coming out of prison. You marched away. You don't know what you're doing. You've got to adjust the new reality. It's like the scenes in The Shawshank. I mean, I'm sure it's not as harsh as that, where they're throwing the powder on them to get rid of ticks and all that. But you don't know what's going to happen to you when you go to prison. They stick you in the van. All the tabloid, all the paparazzi, like trying to get a picture of you. Can you imagine what it's like? Can you imagine what this woman has been through? It boggles the mind. I mean, I'm not gonna insult her by saying I can imagine what it's like. How can you? So yeah, I mean, when I read the summary today, I just thought it's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. and that's why I'm so determined, because I mentioned the other week I asked to be able to be involved, and I didn't pray, and I didn't even ask the universe really. I just sort of, I don't know what I did really, but I just really, really wanted to be involved, and I've managed to get to the point where I am, I have a platform and I am kind of fairly prominently involved, which is what I asked for. So I just give it everything I've got every day until this is over. And I think when it's over, I'll cry. I've thought about how I'll react if I'm in court. I don't know if I will be, and I'm sure I'll just cry and just think, thank God it's over. But until then, I'll just try as hard as I can. Let's go a bit further down. Hi to Wesley, good to have you here, mate, as always. Well done, Katie. I managed to convince 2 people so far to order your book. Appreciate that. Anyone else that can do that, all orders and all reviews are appreciated, of course. The audio on Amazon is not an option for pre-order. No, there's a reason for that, Denise. You can't put audiobooks, and I believe ebooks, but certainly audiobooks, you can't put them on Amazon before they're recorded. And I can tell you it's not been recorded yet, because the recording studio is booked for next month. So I will be recording that next month. So you can't, I don't know when it will appear, but it will, we've done it so it can come out on the day of release. It should be out on the day of release. And it will probably appear for pre-order at some point. Probably. I don't know if that's true, but it will definitely be available on the day of order. But you can't put them on. You can't just say, look, we're going to have an ebook, an audio book. Let's just create a listing. You're not allowed to do that. Thank you for pre-ordering the book, Elizabeth. That's very much appreciated. Yeah, so Thomas has just mentioned that Cinto has discounts. So you can get the hardback at a special price at the moment through Cinto, if you wish to do so. I do often wonder about Breary and his conscience. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I think people have different opinions on him and on what he's done, but if you had gone in as hard as he has, and if you'd gone in with full commitment to his position, you wouldn't want to believe that you were wrong, would you? I think for any enormous incidents that's remotely comparable. So if you think about Hillsborough as an example, there's no doubt the police made massive mistakes at Hillsborough. But I'm sure that they didn't want to. Obviously, some of the stuff that went on is indefensible. I'm not in any way defending it. And the police should have faced more consequences. But individual officers will obviously not want to think that they are responsible for the death of 97 people. Or, no one wants to believe that they'd done that, would they? So when this is the case, we develop defense mechanisms to insulate us against what would be horrifying for our psychological and mental state. So he may be very much going through that process. I mean, I can't really comment too much. I don't know. I will never quite know why they went for Lucy so quickly and why they became obsessed with this commonality. I personally think the proximity chronologically, that's used correctly in this context, Cheshire Police, by the way, to the Victorino Chua case could have had some influence, because it was not long after the verdict for that case came out. Now, I know people that have looked at that case are not confident that Chua is guilty, and I don't. I obviously would have my doubts automatically because I've looked at Lucy's case in depth, but I don't know anything about that case. But I think that could have been a contributing factor to what happened to Councillor Chester. But I can't really say anything more than that. I mean, I think that's a kind of fair comment. Will's mentioning Ian Watkins and Ian Huntley and Lucy being scared about what's happened to them. So what I would say is men's prison is different to women's prison. There are violent women in prison, and there is violence in women's prison sometimes, but men's prisons is just a different kettle of fish. I mean, if you know anything about criminology, violent crime is almost exclusively committed by men, almost exclusively. So when you get in a category A prison with men, it's completely different to a women's prison. I mean, I wouldn't last 5 minutes. I'm perfectly happy to say that. I don't know how the hell I would survive. I mean, one thing I would do is I would be able to, I'd be able to launch a charm offensive. that might help me. But if it came down to fighting and stuff against people like that, I don't know what I would do. But yeah, I think Lucy will be very well. I know Lucy's very highly protected, and I'm honestly not too worried about anything like that because she's in a woman's prison. If we were fighting for a male nurse here, I would be very worried, very concerned, even though there are male nurses in prison and they've not been attacked. But I guess in the case of these two people you mentioned, they were quite objectionable people, I think it's fair to say, and they could have alienated people in the prison. So actually, the fact that they were attacked may be nothing to do with their crimes. It may just be because they annoy people in the prison. I think that's definitely the case for one of them. So although it's worrying, it may not actually be a reflection of their crimes. I honestly think Lucy will be fine in prison, or as fine as she can be, because she'll be very highly protected, and it's a different kettle of fish in a woman's prison. But I take your point, absolutely. A good point about Amanda did not act as society wanted a young girl to act if a friend was killed. Lucy did not bang her fist on the table. How does anyone act in that situation? Very good point, Joanna. I mean, we must be careful about judging people in those circumstances because we don't know how we would act. And as I mentioned, I think women are judged more harshly than men. I think what it is that there's many elements to this, but one of the key elements is women are expected to be more emotional, but more emotional in a certain way, aren't they? And more emotional, perhaps in an empath way. For a man, we're kind of given a bit of a pass for not being as, not shedding a tear, perhaps. And a woman isn't. It seems to me that's how both Liz and Judith felt about Lucy, which shows a complete lack of journalistic caliber, in my estimation, because they should have been able to see that she'd been through a traumatic experience and was traumatized, but obviously they couldn't see that. There has to be a loose case, a part of her that looks for self-preservation. She needs that. She'll have all the support when she comes out. Yeah, I mean, Lucy's intelligent. She knows she needs to fit in prison. I'm sure she's doing a good job of it. Do you think it's possible the consultants at some point will feel the pressure and start throwing each other on the bus? It's not completely inconceivable, but I think they're very likely to stick together. They've done that historically. They've done that on the unit, and I think it's likely that they will do that in this new situation they find themselves in. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, desperate people will do desperate things. You never know. I always look forward to Martin Pittman. I think he's an absolute gent. Yeah, he is. He's a great guy, very intelligent, very good person. So that'll be coming relatively soon. I hope one day you'd be able to interview Lucy, but personally, I can't see Lucy doing any interviews at all. I feel for her. Yeah. I don't know whether I will. Obviously, it will be on Lucy's terms. I don't know if I'll ever speak to Lucy. I won't be pushing it, that's for sure. I think that I don't mistake the fact that I know a lot about her case with knowing a lot about her or knowing her. I know that I don't, and she doesn't owe me anything. But if she wants to do something with me that will be beneficial for her in the future, then I'll do it, of course. But it would be on her terms, and it's certainly not my prerogative to say, "Hey, Lucy, why don't you come on my channel?" That would be deeply inappropriate. If Lucy wants a platform and if she wants to do it and she suggests it, this is a long way down the line. But of course, I'd love to do that for her. But let's just concentrate on the job in hand at the moment. Hi to Martin, good to have you here, and thanks for all your support. Hi to Claudia. Hi from Italy. Claudia's in Italy. Good to have you here as always. So Ruth is saying do readings. That would be fabulous. So yeah, I probably will. It just depends on the bookshops and what they want me to do and what the usual procedure is. But I'm more than happy to do that. So maybe that will happen. We'll have to wait and see. But it really is not my call as well, I should say. I can travel to Manchester, no problem. I'd go down to London. Okay, mate, that's great. If there are bookshop events, and when there are bookshop events, they'll be closer than London for you. Don't worry. That's not a problem. We'll do something in the northwest, 100%. It's just I can't say with certainty we would do Manchester and Liverpool. I could say very confidently we'll do Manchester or Liverpool, possibly both. It's not up to me though. Again, it's just like something that's organised for me, not by me. And Lord only knows I haven't got the time to organise it. Do you think when Lucy's free, the justice system will pursue the likes of Brewery, Jairam, and Evans? So I often get asked this question. I don't know is the answer. They will all face scrutiny. That's inevitable. They're going to face an enormous amount of scrutiny. As to what will happen, as to what form that scrutiny will take, I don't know. As to whether they've broken the law, I don't know. It's impossible for me to say. All I can say is they're not going to be able to say, soz everyone, that was a bit of a mistake, wasn't it? Never mind, I'll just go back to what I was doing before. That's just not going to happen. The same with Liz Hull and the rest of her gang. Their expectations all the time. They expect it to be like this. They expect it to be like that. So I just mentioned this. This is from 842, but I was just talking about this a few minutes ago. Very, very strange that you get women in court judging a woman so harshly. But I mean, Lulu said that just shows you the extent to which this is institutionalized in our society. Yeah, very, very, very troubling. Do you have any skinny on the Thirlwell inquiry? I don't have any skinny on it, sadly, but I can tell you my view. And I think we're not going to hear the recommendations of the Thirlwell inquiry. They've set it up now so that they don't have to give their recommendations. And I'm sure that they're delaying them because they know that they can't credibly release them. Now, don't quote me on that because that's pure speculation, but it's very much looking as if the Thirlwell inquiry will never release the recommendations, or when I say never, not for a very long time and possibly never. Lucy will be freed from prison, but will she be exonerated? I don't know. I know there's some kind of technical consideration as to whether she is deemed not guilty or innocent. I just wanted to be free. We'll sort something out for her so she's got money. That's not a problem. She will be free and she'll have money. I know she'd want to be fully exonerated. It's not my expertise to tell you whether that will happen. All I can say is all we can do is help her in every way that we can and make sure her life is better. And help with the legal stuff if we can as well, I guess. Hope is a very real thing. Absolutely, it's very important for her, just to keep us psychologically. Of course, I mean, and that's a kind of plot arc in the Shawshank Redemption, where very memorable scene where there's Morgan Freeman's character and I've forgotten the name of the guy who plays Andy Dufresne. Is it Tim Robbins? Is that his name? Not very good at actors' names, but and the Andy Dufresne character, Morgan Freeman's character, Red, isn't it? And they're talking about hope, and there's this guy who's lived in the prison for a long time, gets released, and hangs himself very sadly. Very moving part of the film, and Andy's saying, "You need to have hope. You need to remember this place is not made out of concrete." And Red saying to him, "Hope is a very dangerous thing. You need to forget about hope while you're in here." And Andy says to him, "What, like Brooks did, who killed himself on the outside?" And then that it's a very powerful argument, very very moving, I think. And then at the end, you see Red is on the outside, and he thinks he's not going to make it, and then he realizes he can meet Andy, and then you see him say, "I feel hope." So I think there's this line in it with the Shawshank Redemption where he goes, "Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things," and it's good that Lucy feels hope. If she's bereft of hope, then she doesn't have a lot else because everything else has been taken away from her. So that's a very important thing. You recently mentioned that Dewi Evans' expert witness gigs for other cases coming under scrutiny and being exposed as poor quality. Could you please expand upon this in a dedicated video? I might do. That's a good idea. If I think it's appropriate and I get the time to investigate it, then I might do that, Heidi. It has been a bit of a firefighting effort on YouTube recently, but if I get the chance to do it, then I definitely will. The enormous help from Mark McDonald with his empathy and his humanity to help these parents out pro bono was absolutely amazing. I agree. I don't know if people. I was watching when Mark did his first media appearance. He appeared on either Talk TV or the other one, GB News, isn't it? And that was very shortly after Lucy was convicted. And I was really encouraged to see him speaking. I didn't know what part I would have in it at that time. I didn't know what part he would have in it at that time. But I thought it's good to see this guy who knows what he's talking about, talking sense about this case that I was already starting to understand. So yeah, it's he's a great guy. I really respect him. The articles from Nadine Dorries and Peter Hitchens have been very good this week. It's good to see more media stuff, just keeping the pressure up, keeping it in the public eye, keeping it in the public mind. Very, very important. If I start a live slightly late, I rewind to start and watch 1.5 speed until I catch up. Very good system. Very good system. Hi, Chris. I finally made a live stream. Great to have you here, Karen. Why can't Cheshire Constabulary be held to any account? Well, it's not that they can't, Karen. It is that the police usually manage to weasel their way out of everything. I mentioned Hillsborough recently, just a few minutes ago. I think it's fair to say the police have faced no real consequences for Hillsborough, despite the fact they are solely responsible for it. And that's not a complicated thing to understand. We all saw that on TV. We all saw people dying. We know that 97 people died, and yet they face no real consequences for that. So I'm not optimistic that the Cheshire Police will ever face any consequences. I've tried to help in the process of revealing the truth, and my book does that more. But I would not be confident they will ever face any consequences for their actions and their incompetence. I hope they will, but I don't live. If I had to put my money on it, I don't think they will, because usually they don't. But there does need to be some serious consideration about how these cases are investigated, whether we have specialist teams, and so on and so forth. Sorry, I read that one out already. Hi, everyone. I took my dad into hospital at the weekend. The nurses were absolutely brilliant. They commented about consultants have the junior doctors running around doing their jobs for them. That's interesting to hear. Interesting anecdote. The possibility of the dismissal is broad. Would it not be better to have a retrial for Lucy? This will finally silence the detractors. Yeah, I mean that would be a positive of a retrial, and that may be another reason the retrial happens, because it may be felt that, given the nature of this and given the contentious nature of it, that there needs to be a public process. Certainly, that's what Sir David Davis is calling for, and far be it from me to disagree. But then I do have people in my book who feel differently. But we'll just have to wait and see. Ultimately, we will have very little influence and certainly no control over that. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Was she a scapegoat for an incompetent management? She was definitely 100% a scapegoat, because I've discussed this previously. All a scapegoat is someone that takes the blame for something. The term scapegoat is often assumed to mean that it was deliberate, that she was deliberately targeted. That's not true. All scapegoat means is you've been blamed for something. As an individual, usually, or a smaller group, you've been blamed for a wider failing or a wider issue. And she is absolutely a scapegoat. Whether I have expressed my opinion on this many times, but I don't. Whether she was, whatever we think happened on the unit, she was certainly scapegoated, whether deliberately or inadvertently. Sorry to have joined late. That's no problem, Claudia. Was wondering if there's any news on the Thirlwell inquiry. So I kind of mentioned everything that I know about it, which is very little. But I don't think we're going to hear them give their recommendations. I think we're going to see this delayed until the case is referred, and then they'll just say, whoops, well, we can't do anything now. We're just going to have to delay this indefinitely. I think that's very, very likely now. When is the Jeff Chase and Helen Shannon insulin research paper going to be published? It's groundbreaking evidence. I don't know exactly. I'm not privy to that information, and if I was, I couldn't tell you. So that's the best answer I've got for you. I don't know, but I'm sure it will be coming. Good evening, John. Nice to have you here. I'm glad you're enjoying the live stream. He's an Arsenal fan, so you've got a tense time ahead of you. It was a tense game against West Ham, so I hope some of the future games are slightly less tense. I'm still very curious about Dr. Brewery's experience with nurses prior to Councillor Chester. Has he accused others before? Doubtful that he has. We don't. I just can't answer this question. I don't know why they moved towards Lucy so quickly. I can't give a good answer to that question. I don't know why he decided to do that. And there's no evidence that he had a bad relationship with nurses on the unit previous to this. That there is actually a comment from one of the nursing managers that says Stephen Breary is usually perfectly okay, or words to that effect. I'm paraphrasing slightly. And she uses the expression, he's not usually malicious. And I'm sure that's true. So I don't know what the hell happened in this case, and I wish I could explain it. All I know is we ended up with the situation we ended up with. Just to think, West Streeting, who dismissed people who question the verdict as crass and insensitive, might be Prime Minister soon. So it's looking more like, let's just have a look at something here. So the odds today, just today, the odds of Keir Starmer exiting this year have come in dramatically. So it was looking, they were at one point they were like 1 to 10 or 1 to 12, which means practical certainty, and now they're up to like 1 to 3, which still is odds on, obviously, but it's looking increasingly possible that he might survive. So there is Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy says no one seems to have the names to stand up against Starmer. So he might survive. I think it would be better if he survived, because I don't really have an enormous amount of respect for streeting. That would be the most. I mean, that is an unbelievably generous way of putting it. I think the best hope for Lucy would be if Andy Burnham became the leader. And he's not an MP currently. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think what I will say is it's looking more likely that Starmer will survive, at least for a while. That's not necessarily a good thing, but if he survives for a certain period of time, and then later Andy Burnham becomes an MP, and then later Andy Burnham is backed by the party, that's the best case scenario for Lucy from the Labour Party, in my opinion. He's traditional left. He should be less of a system server. He should be less inclined to go along with the courts and the institutions of the court. And he might do something conceivably. I'm not saying he would, but that would be our best bet. So in a way, I hope Keir Starmer manages to hang on, because Burnham couldn't have a leadership campaign now. He couldn't be part of a leadership campaign now because he's not an MP. So it would be Wes Streeting would have a clear path to be Prime Minister, basically, because the other one was, what's her name? Rayner, is it? Angela Rayner, that's it. Angela Rayner would be, she's kind of ruled herself out, I think. So it would just be Wes Streeting and there's some outsider. So I think the party will want to avoid that as well, because I don't think Wes Streeting is the leader they want at this point in time. I think if they're going to have a centrist or right-leaning leader, they might as well just keep Starmer. I think there's an onus now on the Labour Party to move to the left, because it's clear. I didn't mean to talk about politics this much, but it is clear that people on the left will now vote Green, and they'll now vote Lib Dem, and they'll now vote for the SNP. One of the interesting things was Plaid Cymru became, like, Dewi will be really happy that Plaid Cymru have become more influential in Wales as a result of these elections. But Labour, I think there's going to be a real onus on them to move to the left, to meet the demands of their core supporters. And equally, there's going to be a demand. We know that people on the right will vote for reform now. So in my life, I never thought I'd see a time when the Tories and Labour could face the prospect of being minority parties. But it's feasible, and they're going to have to respond to that. And the way to respond to that is not to put Wes system serving streeting into number 10. That's calamitous for them. Calamitous. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the political situation. I'm sure you didn't want to hear that. I've told you anyway. Let's move on. If Lucy has her case rejected by both the CCRC or she gets referred to the Court of Appeal, she loses her appeal, she can possibly go to the ECHR. So she has to exhaust her domestic routes first, apparently. Hi to Angela, lovely to have you here. Don't worry about the fact you're late. It's great for you to be here as always. Hi, Alex. Great to have you here. Nice to see you doing another live. Really looking forward to your book. Percentage-wise, how convinced are you that Lucy will be exonerated? 100%. I'm absolutely certain that Lucy will be exonerated. The only thing I'm uncertain about is the time frame. There is no way, with this number of experts, with this scale of support, with this campaign, with the original court case being so dubious, with the fact that there is no solid evidence against her, with the fact that none of it makes any sense, with multiple documentaries, with a book coming soon, with more stuff coming out all the time, there's no way she's sooner or later she'll be exonerated. It's just a question of when. I'm 100% certain of that. If a retrial is ordered, will this result in reporting restrictions to stifle the current debate? There will certainly be some form of restrictions. And also, when the CCRC refers to the Court of Appeal, I will have to change what I do on this channel. I will have to be very careful about contempt of court, and I probably could get away with it talking about Lucy's case, but I'd rather just be respectful to the court and not, there'll be a final video where I say the case has been referred to the Court of Appeal. Let's look at that. Now I need to change tack and talk about other things. So that's when I'll need your help, and that's when, as a community, we can, I still think I'll be able to make interesting content for you on miscarriages of justice, on other topics. That'll be really where you guys and people that support the channel for a long time help by. I will look to you to help me with what content you'd like to see. Of course, I have my own ideas as well, and I'll do some of those ideas. But maybe you'd like to see me do something that is completely unrelated to criminal justice. I mean, I did that video on Theranos, for example, and the Madoff case. So you might like to see me deep dive into Theranos, or deep dive into Madoff, or you might have your own ideas. I don't know. I think there should be a criminal justice or legal theme, but maybe there's even something else you'd like me to look at that's not even related to legal cases. I don't know. We just have to suck it and see, as they say. And also, I don't know how long it will take for it to go to the Court of Appeal, and I won't be able to cover Lucy's appeal because I'm not allowed to do that. I will be watching her appeal proceedings very closely and making notes, but I won't be able to cover her appeal in real time. If there is a retrial again, between the appeal and the retrial being ordered and the retrial going to court, it's probable that I won't be able to say too much for exactly the same reasons. However, if there is a retrial, if there's a full retrial of considerable length, then I'll cover every single day's proceedings with extensive analysis right up until the day we get the verdict. So I'm perfectly entitled to do that. What I won't be able to do, probably, or I'll have to be careful about doing, is offering an opinion on the court proceedings. All of these things I'll have to be really careful about. So I hope that answers your question. It's a bit of a minefield, but I will always err on the side of caution and err on the side of respecting the court. Right now, I can have my opinion on the court. As soon as the court orders a new process, then I need to be respectful of the court, which I will be. So someone's saying that, sadly, the system will delay as long as possible. Let me just pour some water. Bear with me. That's possible, absolutely possible, but I do think the pressure is going to become too great, and I don't think that will happen. In fact, but you've seen Peter Hitchens the other day; he was given an absolute hammering for having been in prison for 2,000 days, and I don't think at this point that it will be. It will drag on for years and years and years. I really don't. But I understand why you believe that, and of course there's precedent for that. But there's never been anything like this before, where there's so much support. It just hasn't happened before. So I think that's going to make a big difference to what occurs. I think it's impossible to imagine what Lucy's been through. Agree entirely. Oh my God, it's just heartbreaking. I think about her every day. I mean, obviously I do. I don't so much think about her. I think about the case. I mean, more than think about it is pretty much my entire life. But yeah, it's awful. It's awful. What one can only imagine what our parents are going through. That doesn't really bear thinking about, does it? So someone says she won't be reading about prisoners being murdered because it's kept a lid on. It still seems like the kind of thing that she could find out about, though. Chinese whispers always find a way of seeping through, don't they? So, but interesting point nevertheless. Let's go a bit further down. Without telling us all the names, can you tell us how many people have endorsed your book? So what I wanted was quality, not quantity. So if you ever see like a celebrity writing a book, they just get all their friends to say, "Oh yeah, it's great," and I just read it and go, "I mean, come on." So I wanted it to be quality, not quantity. So it's 3 and probably 4. Three are in place. The fourth person is looking at it now, and I'm hopeful the fourth person will agree. Um, Hello, chat. Hello, Chris. Well done. I've only just found your show. It's great what you're doing. Let's hope Lucy's free soon. Thank you, Tuned Teddy. Great name. I used to love my Teddy back in the day. I have grown out of it eventually, but yeah. I really appreciate the support. Very, very, very much appreciated. And thank you for the kind words. Yeah. I mean, so you're making a point about the jury. So it is a massive problem for them to get a jury, obviously. There are so many problems. I don't like to make any predictions about it because I just don't know what's going to happen. You know, I see many problems for them with a retrial, many problems. But equally, they're going to. Mark said they're going to want to do a retrial. That's typically what happens. So, he knows more than me. We'll wait and see, won't we? So Melanistic Marble says, I was listening with my eyes closed. I think I'll need to order the audiobook. So it's really weird to think I'm going to be recording an audiobook in a recording studio, and then people are going to be listening to it possibly all over the world. But I'm looking forward to doing it. It's, a new life experience. And I've had a good grounding of practicing. So I'll get in there and give it my best shot. So I hope people enjoy the audiobook. I think what will happen in the future, in fact, I know what will happen in the future, is that more and more audiobooks will be done with AI, where someone's voice will be cloned and the AI will record the book. But I wanted to do it the organic, authentic way, where I go into a recording studio and record it myself, even though that's not it's the harder way to do it, and it's the more expensive way to do it, and it's the more arduous, it's bad in every way except in the way of authenticity. And I wanted it to be authentic. So that's the way we're doing it. Even though the technology already exists for AI to clone my voice, and it will get better. Eventually there'll be a lot of audiobooks that are cloned, people's cloned voices. But I will be going to a recording studio in London to record it. My example is more in Pittman had a conscience to step up and speak about what was going wrong. Lucy had the conscience to do it. Yeah. I mean, he's a great guy. It's tragic what's happened, and it's symptomatic of major problems in the system, obviously. And I would like to do some more work in the future on whistleblowing. I think it's a very important topic. I must say that when I finish this book, I do want a break for a bit. I'll still be doing YouTube, but I think I deserve a little bit of a break from writing. So, and I don't want to think about another massive research project, but also it's my passion, and I will be writing another book. I have many ideas, and I will start to think about those ideas probably this year, probably later this year, and think about what I'm going to do next. I have an idea that I can't share with you yet, but it's in the criminal justice space, and it's nothing to do with anything we've discussed on this channel. I definitely want to do that in the future because I heard about this before Lucy's case, and I would love to write a definitive book on this topic. So that's what I will do. Obviously, people are going to want me to do more about Lucy's case. I'd like to do something about whistleblowing, and then I have some other ideas as well. So, and then eventually, I'd like to move on to do stuff outside of criminal justice, and I have some ideas in that area as well. And then maybe many years from now, I think probably well over a decade from now, I'd like to write a novel. I mean, I've written novels in the past, and there's one I'd really like to do. So I think it would be senseless to do that now, but in the future, I'd like to have a go at doing some fiction. But who's playing this playoff semi-final? Someone's watching the playoff semi-final. Let's have a score update. Southampton 1, Middlesbrough 1. This is the Spygate game, isn't it? Where Southampton been spying on Middlesbrough? Appreciate you joining, John, and all the work I've done is my pleasure. I really appreciate the support. Are you just watching as a casual viewer, or do you support Southampton or Middlesbrough? I wonder. Sadly, Grimsby lost to Salford. We lost to the corrupt class of '92 overfunded team 2-1, but maybe we can pull it back in the second leg. Who knows? Yes, I think I definitely agree with you. It's possible there won't be a retrial, but we don't know. Cheshire Police had stars in their eyes because several consultants gave them info. I absolutely believe that, Ruth. I think they got carried away. Whether it's entirely fair to say they had stars in their eyes, I don't know. But I do believe that they became carried away by what they saw as being a big and exciting case. I absolutely believe that. Do you believe that they will be hung out to dry by the police? It's certainly possible. I can't say for sure, but it's certainly possible. I visited Style several times to the mother and baby unit, and wow, there were some violent ladies there. Oh yeah, I've been to Style prison. That's where the restaurant was. I forgot what it's called now. Oh, the Clink. Yeah, they used to have the Clink there. There's still one in London, I think. So for people who don't know, there used to be a restaurant on the grounds of Style Prison in Cheshire. I think it's Style Prison. And they made like really posh food, posher than I would usually eat. I'm a bit of a foodie, but I don't usually go to really expensive restaurants. You know, I like a good pub, a good gastro pub or something. But this was really high quality, very posh chef cooked food. And it was on the grounds of a prison. And basically the prisoners that were studying for vocational qualifications would cook the food as chefs and wait on the tables. And I remember the girl, coming round, and she was so nervous. You could just see she was so nervous because she was in a fairly posh bit of Cheshire, and she probably thought people were judging her. And I wanted to say to her, "Look, I'm from Grimsby, love. I mean, you really don't need to worry." But I didn't say that. I just tried to be really kind to her, and hopefully she got her life back on track, because I don't judge anyone for. Even people who've done awful things, they deserve to be in prison forever, and that's absolutely fair. And people that are guilty of some certain crimes do deserve life sentences, and they do deserve whole life orders. But I try not to judge them. Try not to, because we're all human, and let he who's without sin cast the first stone. Chris, your book can be pre-ordered on Amazon Italy, including the Kindle version, just to inform you. Thanks for letting me know that. So it should be on some of the Amazons now. And in some territories, it will be a print on demand. So it won't arrive as quickly as it would in Britain, because it's very difficult for us to do full distribution all over the world for a book that we don't know what it's going to sell in other countries. But it will be made available in print edition. And of course, the Kindle version, the ebook version and the audiobook version will be available instantaneously all over the world. But the print version, you may have to wait a few days for, if you live in America, Australia, Canada, and so on. I think the CCRC are taking their time. Hi, William, by the way, because they know a retrial will be impossible. So they're waiting in the hope the case will go quiet and it can be heard quietly. Of course, it won't. Yeah, so that's quite possible. Quite possible. They're not going to be able, as you say, they're just not going to be able to do that. They need to get their skates on. They need to face the reality of the situation, and they need to face that this is going to be damaging to the criminal justice system. And that's just what choice have they got? They've got no choice. That's just the way it is. The sooner they accept that, the easier it's going to be for them. Indeed. I don't know what they're thinking, but they just need to deal with the situation. Cheshire Police must be embarrassed after fawning over Brewery and J-Ram so much. I would suggest they're in a state of denial at this point in time, not embarrassment. I spent 3 months on remand in Merseyside. It was a mental health episode. Prison is not fun. First and last time. Yeah, I imagine it is not fun. Right, so I'll just ban this person probably. Let me just scroll a bit down and see if they're saying just stupid things all the time. Right, yes, I'll have to ban this person. I don't understand, right, why people who think Lucy's guilty, I don't understand why they can't behave more maturely. Like, I actually wouldn't kick people out. If you can ask me questions. So here is the one question I'll answer. Do you think Harold Shipman was innocent too? I have not studied Harold Shipman's case, but I have no reason to believe that he's innocent. But the two cases are in no way similar. Why can you not accept Lucy Letby as a serial killer of babies? Because there is no evidence to support that. So if you could keep it sensible and ask questions, albeit those are not particularly sensible, they're not the most sensible questions in my view. But if you just, I'm perfectly happy to answer questions from people who think Lucy's guilty, but you just can never behave. So you're gone now. Thanks for coming. Goodbye. Was suppression of the J-Ram email a criminal offence? Why was no one charged? So I don't know if people saw me tweet about that the other day. Let me read out what I tweeted about J-Ram. Where are we? Here we go. So I tweeted. So this was yesterday, Monday the 11th of May. Today is the 1-year anniversary of David Davis writing to Cheshire Police requesting an investigation into Dr. Ravi Jairam. This was first reported here, and I've linked to an LBC article. I'm not going to reiterate the issues with Jairam's court testimony. This has been authoritatively established here, and this linked to the Unheard article. We were informed at the time that the Chief Constable has received the letter. This has been reviewed, and he will be responding in due course, addressing all the concerns raised. I accept that in due course references an indeterminate period of time. It does, however, typically imply that there will be a relatively prompt response. It is notable that when Sir David spoke in Parliament on the many obvious blunders inherent in Operation Hummingbird, the response from the Chief Constable of Cheshire Police, while execrable in quality, was considerably more swift. I accept that an investigation into Jairam's comments would take longer, but this is a relatively straightforward matter. It does not require a complex investigation. We have already reasonably traversed beyond the point where due course has elapsed. Will we ever hear any more about this? So those were my comments on. Those are my comments on the Jairam email. It's a year, 1 year and 1 day now since we heard about this. Whether or not it's a criminal offence, I cannot comment on. As to why no one is charged, I believe Cheshire Police are so desperately protecting the narrative, they will never respond to this. That's why I've highlighted it, so people know. Let's go a bit further down. Hi to Anna, nice to have you. Anna's in Australia. Good morning, Anna says. Was it cold where people were today in Britain? I went out with Keeks today and it was freezing. It was like 8 degrees. And then the sun came out this evening. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is insult for May. I almost could have put a woolly hat on today. It was ridiculous. Let's go a bit further down. Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for the painstaking work. Thank you for being here, James. Really appreciate it. Lucy's dad must be 80 years now because he was reported as being 77 years during her trial in 2023. Let's hope and pray her mum and dad can really celebrate her release with great relief and joy. I'm not privy to her dad's age, but I obviously echo those sentiments. They have been through an enormously traumatic, awful, terrible. I can't imagine what they're going through. And I do think it's worse for them than Lucy. Lucy obviously is going through an awful experience as well, but she will just adjust. She will adjust. Whereas her parents are just they're really, really worrying about her and also going through it with her. And they sort of have to try and get on with their normal lives. But how can they do that? And then can you imagine what it's like for them when they're out and about? People will know who they are. People around where they live know who they are. They're constantly thinking, do people around us think our daughter is guilty? And of course, initially they definitely would have thought that their daughter was guilty. Now maybe there'll be more support. It must be. Can you imagine? Can you imagine going through that? The answer is no. You can't. How could anyone imagine it? So it's awful. It's awful, and I hope we can resolve this relatively soon. Surely justice wouldn't be justice unless she was fully exonerated. That should go hand in hand. You'd think so. But one of the reasons they don't fully exonerate people is so they don't have to pay compensation. They only pay, for successful appeals, they only pay compensation in 8% of cases. So less than 1 in 10, less than 1 in 12, in fact. So we can't expect this. We can only hope that the situation, resolves itself and make sure that Lucy doesn't have to worry about money because she's going to have enough to worry about. Hi, Chris. Thanks for your hard work on this. I look forward to reading your book. Have you done any research or do you have a view on whether there will be a retrial or the COP will judge? So we have discussed this earlier. I'll try to summarize that view quickly because I've discussed this in depth earlier. I don't know. There's very obvious arguments against the retrial, and I think it's going to be phenomenally difficult. But I am informed that usually the prosecution would go for a retrial. There will be a kind of public need to see this case retried. And also it's going to be embarrassing for the system if they have to say, you know what, we've got no evidence. One of the most important cases in British history, one of the most severe prison sentences in British history, the most severe prison sentence for a woman since the abolition of the death penalty, one of the very rare instances in which someone has received a whole life order for attempted murder, and we're overturning the case and we cannot put a case in court to contest that. That's enormously embarrassing. So I really wouldn't like to predict what's going to happen. We'll just have to wait and see. Thirlwell is in the bind. Any report will be torn apart by expert commentators. There are already sensible recommendations from the RSS and senior police officers on investigating medical cases. Agreed. In fact, Thirlwell should have listened to the 24 experts that wrote to her in September 2024, was it? And she didn't. She failed. So she's going to have to live with the fact that her name is on that for the rest of her life, but she can certainly be miserable in comfort given what she's being paid for it. Today's Nadine Dorris Daily Mail article, she says of 4 areas of evidence she mentions that the CCRC may refer only one to court. One would be enough to overturn her convictions. Any thoughts on that comment? Well, it's true, basically. I mean, they only need one. Typically, there is usually just one major area of evidence that is new, and there are multiple. There's 11, actually, that's been submitted. So there's plenty of reason for this to go to the Court of Appeal. Plenty. It will go to the Court of Appeal. There's no doubt. It's just a matter of when. Chris, do you think Mr. and Mrs. Letby watch your channel? No, I don't. I think it would be far too traumatizing for them. And I think they will keep up with it in a minimal way. But I think their updates on the case will mostly come from Mark McDonald, and they will avoid coverage as much as possible. But I think they do know. I think they do know a bit about what's going on, and I think they do know a bit about people supporting her on social platforms. I think Lucy's aware of that. I know Lucy's aware of that. So yeah, they're aware, but I don't think they're going to sit there watching videos about their daughter. So it's interesting you heard they live streamed the podcast or the protest in Liverpool. I didn't know that. I don't know if that's true, but I'm sure they're following it when they can. But for their own mental health, they can't immerse themselves in the way that I did. They'd have a breakdown. They must create some distance as well. I'm sure your book will do very well, but is the success of the book make or break for you? It depends what you mean by that. It's the most important thing that I've ever done in my life, so I want it to be a success, obviously. I was a ghostwriter before, and I'll go back to ghostwriting if I have to. Obviously, I'd like to be an author for the rest of my life. And if this book is reasonably successful, then I'll have a platform to do that. I think, it's not. It's hard to answer that question because I don't know exactly what you mean. But no, it's not make or break. But this will undoubtedly be the biggest thing I've ever done. So essentially, it's make for me, not break. so there's that firstly, and that is really part of the reason I think as well why I feel I must do everything for Lucy that I possibly can, because in a small way I feel bad that I'm going to I'm going to do things that any writer dreams of doing, and that's a real privilege. So why should I be getting to live this life on the outside while Lucy's on the inside? So all I can do in exchange is give it everything for this campaign and for this book and for this, what I believe to be overturning this egregious miscarriage of justice and trying to help and trying to educate people and get the truth out there. But it's not make or break for me because, if I have to go out there and wait on tables or work behind a bar, I'm not scared of doing that. I mean, I'm not too good to do it. I don't, just because I've written a book and got a YouTube channel and, I've been a writer for a long time. Nothing is make or break for me, but this will, to be honest, make my reputation as an author, and I will have a platform to write more books in the future and do a lot more work, what I would consider to be important work. So it's pretty much baked into the cake that this will make me as a writer, really. And I just want it to be as successful as possible, to help Lucy, to make it more prominent, to educate people, to do everything that I possibly can. So I hope that answers your question. Letby's been denied the opportunity to have a family. No amount of money or compensation can make up for that. Well, it's still feasible for her to have a family. Not only because of her age and the age that she could feasibly come out of prison, but also fertility treatment for women is improving all the time. She could adopt, of course. I mean, she probably would want to have her own infant. I understand that. But I think if I was a woman, I'd rather adopt. I'm looking at pregnancy and childbirth. But, obviously she'll probably want to have her own infant. But, Naomi Campbell just had a baby at 50. Now, I'm not saying that's guaranteed for everyone, but Lucy can have IVF treatment and all these treatments, and she could have a baby at an age where previously it wasn't feasible. So do bear that in mind. But there's no point thinking about that. For me, I never think about any of that. I never think about what's it going to be like when she's out of prison. What about this? What about that? I don't really care. That's in the future. I really honestly don't even think about anything other than doing my best today. That's what I've had to do while I've been doing all of this. I've just had to think, get up in the morning, what am I doing? This is what I need to do today. Give some time to Kiko, make Kiko happy, do the work that's required. Now I'm knackered, go to bed, get up tomorrow, do it again. And that's I honestly don't think beyond that. I'm optimistic things can work out for Lucy, but I don't think about it too much because we just need to deal with the matter in hand, obviously. Once the insulin cases are overturned, the rest will follow. They were based on ignorance of insulin processing in neonates. The data is clear and does not even depend on the shell and chase mechanism. I agree. I think that's just an extra. It's the icing on the cake. The insulin cases are weak anyway, very weak. Another thing that I often like to mention is it's worth bearing in mind that the infants didn't die. So if the other murder cases are overturned, it's going to be pretty ridiculous if the Court of Appeal says, right, well, the murder cases are unsafe, but we're going to keep her in prison for attempted murder. So I do believe, I say I'm increasingly optimistic. Things are getting stronger and stronger for our case, and I'm more and more optimistic. Would it be allowed for Mark to give Lucy a copy of this recording, for instance? So I will probably give Mark a copy of the book to give to Lucy. He can't do that. I don't know. That's a really good question. Like, would he be able to record it on a CD and give it to her so she could play it? I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know. One of the things I've thought of doing is giving her transcripts. So that might be something we could work on in the future. I've been way too busy to think about anything like that, but maybe we can think about it in the future. As I've just explained, I just think about today. Often I don't know what day it is. Usually I forget. I mean, I'd say at least 50% of the time I forget to put the bins out because I don't know what day it is. I just literally get up. What am I doing? Here's what I'm doing today. So hopefully by July, August, I'll be in more of a organized headspace where I can actually plan a bit more, and then we can think about things that we can do. Because I would love to share some of the channel content with Lucy, and maybe there is a way we can do it. I don't know. Let's go a bit further down. What I still cannot reconcile as excusable is a small amount of time anyone other than nurses were present a week or more between ward rounds. So yeah, this has been criticised by many. It's almost incomprehensible that was allowed to occur, but I think I've mentioned, I can't remember if I've mentioned this on the channel or not. I probably have, but I think it's increasingly clear to me, the more I've learned, the more people I've spoken to, the more I've begun to understand the case and the issues and hospitals and medical matters. I think it's clear to me, in my head anyway, that what they were trying to do was coast through the months and years that were ahead of them until they could leave their old neonatal unit and move to the new neonatal unit. And they knew that the situation that, and that's why it's hard to understand why they couldn't see that there could be problems on the unit that had caused the deaths of these infants. But I think while they've made mistakes and while there were a lot of problems, in a new neonatal unit, they may have been in a better shape. And I think they were trying to coast through until they had that, and they were trying to save every penny for the new neonatal unit. And that's created the perfect storm that you see. So I think the 2 ward rounds is symptomatic of that, where the hospital's understaffed and they're going around running in circles. You know, I think we must say there's question marks about Dr. Jairam because of his TV work, but I think it's fair for us to say that most of the paediatricians on the unit, I'm sure, work very hard. I'm not saying Dr. Jairam didn't. They don't want babies to die. They don't want to fail at work. They're healthcare professionals. They have to work extremely hard to become paediatricians. And although it's a privileged position, it's also a very responsible position. And I'm sure they take pride in what they do. I'm sure they do. I know we don't have a positive view of the consultants on this channel, but they must take pride in what they do. It's an immense, you know, I mean, I've spoken to Michelle, I've spoken to, so I've interviewed several neonatologists for this book, and, you know, they're all proud of what they do. They care about it very, very much. And I know these are pediatricians, but they will care about what they're doing very, very much as well. And the only explanation I can give you is they were underfunded, understaffed, all these things, and they knew it, and they wanted their hospital to be successful. They wanted to keep the neonatal unit. They wanted to remain a level 2 unit, and they thought, we want to accept infants onto the unit to get money so we can build our new neonatal unit, move on into it, which they have now, blah, blah, blah. And that's why it all blew up in their face. That's the only explanation I can possibly give you. I can't give you any other explanation. So an interesting comment here. I was at dinner a few months ago and asked a top barrister if Lucy Letby was innocent. He had no doubt she was not guilty and he knew someone involved. The other top barristers in the UK must be discussing the case. I'm sure they are. Very interesting to read that. Thank you for sharing that. Scapegoating is endemic in the NHS. Sooner or later, a case was going to get out of hand. Brewery and Jerram lost control of it. As Jerram admitted, it will follow into his grave, and so it should. I agree entirely. It was in the documentary that her other, Lucy's friend, warned her the unit was very cliquey, and she should be, yeah. That was very interesting, wasn't it? So that was new information. That's normal, though, in workplaces, isn't it? I mean, I came into this not knowing much about the NHS, but I'm not surprised it's cliquey. I mean, every workplace I've been in was cliquey, backstabbing. That's just the way we are, certainly in this country. So I'm going to scroll down and find some more questions because we've done 2 hours now, and I'm hungry and tired. I'm not as tired as I was last week, but I'll try and find your questions and answer all of your questions. Right, first of all, I had some questions in the comments for this video, so let's find those first of all. Yeah. Could you please let us know if you have any upcoming interviews with any medical or legal professionals? So I have Michelle and Martin coming up, and I'll be arranging some more in the foreseeable future. I've been so busy. I love doing the interviews, but I just haven't had time. I just have not had time. And also, it's not just, firstly, you've got to contact the person, then you've got to interact with them, then you've got to prep the interview, then you've got to, if it's someone I don't know, I always do a pre-meeting, then I do the pre-meeting, then I've got to transcribe the pre-meeting, then I've got to work, it takes time. So I just haven't had time to do it. But there'll be many more interviews coming in the future, no doubt. One question you mentioned in a previous live stream, it was toxic and uncomfortable to work at the Council of Chester. Do you know if the 2 doctors, Brewer and Jerram, are still working there? As far as we know, they are still working. I don't have any particular insight into that, and I don't have any inside information, but as far as we know, they still are. Early question for this evening, do you think a change in PM leadership might help Lucy, as Keir Starmer didn't want to know? So I've answered that in some depth earlier. So I have actually answered that question. Someone said, if Streeting gets it, I'm emigrating. Well, he won't be there for long. Chariots and Wire, don't worry. So someone asked me a question about people who support the verdict, and I've answered that question. Yeah, so I've answered all the questions on there. So now let me find, right, here's the chat. So I'll scroll down and answer any questions I've got in the chat as well. Yeah, drop me a WhatsApp alert, that's fine. Yeah, please do. The problem is I have to turn off WhatsApp alerts on my computer because otherwise it's going beep. But I'll maybe leave it on in the future. And you didn't send me one this time, but yeah, please do, Thomas. Yeah, send me a WhatsApp, that's fine. So I think it's okay for me to say Thomas is working on something that he will announce, and I will mention this on the channel in the foreseeable future. I'm off to bed now, so I'll see the rest of this tomorrow. But just a thought, has anyone written to King Charles and asked for his intervention? Yeah, a lot of people ask this, but I just can't see that happening, unfortunately. Nice idea, but unfortunately, they're not going to get their nose dirty in that regard. They're just not. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't like West Streeting. I'm not going to sit here slagging him off because I've probably said stuff about him in the past, and what can I do? I don't think he's going to. I think Starmer's going to cling on, and I think our best out, as I mentioned, is is Andy Burnham. Can you see inquest going ahead in September? So I have received informed opinion on this topic, and the informed opinion says no. But we don't know for certain, but we don't think they'll go ahead. I'm so pleased to hear you say Lucy will be exonerated. That's just my opinion, of course, but I'm certain at this point that she'll be exonerated. You know, you've just heard someone say a top barrister knows that she's innocent. There must be lots that know. Let's go a bit further down. We could do with David Davis, yeah. I don't think he's going to put himself forward to be the Prime Minister at the age of... One of the things we tend to forget, David Davis is 77. He may even be 78 by now. Last time I looked, he was 77. He's an extraordinary gentleman. And, I mean, I've met him. Obviously, I've seen him, and I've met Colin Morley. And I mentioned before, when I met Colin Morley, I had him on the channel, he had to leave because he was like lecturing at Cambridge University, and he's like 83. And they're so inspirational for me, and I want to be like that myself. So yeah, I would love for David Davis to be the Prime Minister, but I don't think that's going to happen. I guess he might, and whether he take a ministerial position, I don't know. But I think he probably views himself as a backbencher now. I don't want to speak for him, but thank God he's here, because he's the guy's a great man in my view. Mark McDonnell will not be her retrial lawyer, correct? Who will be, and can she or Mark McDonnell choose who is? Certainly Mark will have input in that. What I have heard, again, this is not 100% cast iron, so don't quote me on this, but I think this is very likely true. She's not going to have a problem getting a KC. Like there's going to be an almighty scramble to be the KC that does this case. So she's going to get a top KC, no doubt. We're pretty confident about that. Chris, if you had to stop Lucy Letby analysis content, I could honestly listen to you and your interesting views on any topic. You've definitely found a calling on YouTube. Thank you, Stuart. I really enjoy doing it, and it's, I always thought I could do something on YouTube, but it's getting started is very difficult. You have to get traction. Getting traction is so hard, and I'm just really grateful I got traction with this. And yeah, I'll do this for the rest of my life, I think. I mean, whether I'll do as much as I do now for the rest of my life, I don't know. But I mean, I would never just want to say to you guys, all right, bye. I'm not speaking to you anymore. I mean, I'd like to answer more comments than I do. I've just been so busy; it's not been possible. But in the future, I will definitely answer more comments. And I mean, it's an enormous privilege to do one of these things, and I don't take it for granted that we have 200 concurrent people every time, and it's always like 178 now, and all the way through it's like bordering on 200, and then when I get the figures, it tells me at the end how many people have viewed the video, and it's always like over 1,000. That's mental. Like, people give up their evenings just to listen to me, and I'll never take that for granted. No way. I'm enormously grateful for my life. I'm a writer. That already, like, what I'm going to do this year, I'm going to do a launch event for the book. I'm going to do, speak readings, prominent readings, probably. Out of everyone that tries to write, for starters, I'm already a writer for a living. That happens to less than 1% of people that try, well under 1% of people, less than 0.1% of people that ever write, definitely. So I'm really grateful for that. And then actually doing what I'm going to be doing this year, that happens to 0.001% of writers, and like 0.001% of people that ever try to write. So that I'm incredibly grateful for that. And then, I started doing YouTube, and the traction I've got and the following I've got and what I've managed to achieve for a new channel, that happens to less than 1% of new channels easily. So I mean, I'm really, really, really lucky person, and I give thanks to the whatever yeah, I don't know. I'm not like the most spiritual person, but if it's the universe, then the universe. If it's God, then God. If it's a completely random world in which I've just been a lucky, you know what, then I'm still thankful. But I'm never going to stop doing YouTube, and I really, really, really appreciate the support. Um, let's go a bit further down. Chris, what are Kiko's favourite doggy treats? I believe yours are Cadbury's whole nut. That's if I remember correctly. Very, very astute. I love all chocolate, but yeah, Cadbury's whole nut's my favourite, like mainstream chocolate bar. I love it. I love a good like Belgian chocolates or something like that. My friend used to be in this club where really high quality, like delicatessen chocolates, they'd create new ones and then send in one, like a box full of them or two boxes full. And then you had to go through it. You got them cheap or something, or I don't know. And then they'd have a card that came with it, and you go through it, giving them marks out of 10. Oh, that was brilliant. So I used to love that. So my favorite, I love chocolate and I love cake and I love puddings. I love making like sticky toffee pudding. I love to bake a chocolate cake, or I like to make a Victoria sponge. I like to make like bread and butter pudding, jam sponge. I like making like baking like chocolate chip cookies or brownies. So these are my favorites. Kiko loves those. There's like bacon twirly things. She loves them. Um, that's probably her favorite. I think Kiko's absolute favorite food that I obviously don't give her because you're not that much because you're not supposed to give it to dogs. But Kiko's got an iron constitution, so I give her a taste of cheese. Cheese is her favorite. I mean, I love cheese, but I think Kiko likes it more than me. Then after cheese, any meat, obviously. But I mean, she loves like a chicken portion, or I'll make her like a Sunday dinner sometimes, or Christmas dinner she gets. So she loves that. Fish she likes a lot, um, like salmon or tuna. I have to be careful because she knows the words of food as well. So thankfully she hasn't settled yet. And then Yorkshire puddings, that's one she knows. So she's like pricking her ears up now. She loves a Yorkshire pudding, loves mashed potatoes. So those are like her 5 favourites, I think. But she loves those like cheesy bacon twirls that you give dogs as well. Let's go a bit further down. I could do public readings like Charles Dickens. Well, I wouldn't wish to bracket myself with Dickens, but we'll see what happens in the future. The Clink in London is in Brixton Prison. So there you go. So if you're ever in London, if you live in London, if you're close to London, please do support this because I think it's a really noble thing they do to try and get prisoners back on their feet. Unfortunately, one of Wilm Style, isn't it? But just outside Wilmslow has closed now. But it was there for 15 years, I think, and it's a wonderful initiative. And if you can support it, you definitely should. And I mean, it was like really high quality food, amazing. Let's go a bit further down. Sorry, I'm just waiting for the next question. Sophie Dresser just wanted to ask you if you've had a practicing criminal lawyer review transcript. Your instincts are first rate, but sometimes your legal assertions are a bit off. Okay. So I try not to make any because I don't know jack about it. Yeah, it's very, very difficult, obviously, to get a practicing lawyer or legal expert to review everything that I say on the channel. If anyone ever has any corrections, please do let me know. I would not be able to do that. I would not be able to do that. But I try not to make legal assertions because I don't know what I'm talking about. But if I like to say the criminal justice system is wrong here because I'm entitled to do that. But I take your point absolutely. Thank you for pre-ordering the book. It's very much appreciated. Let's go a bit further down. Question about Amazon Australia. I can't pre-order from Amazon yet, but the Nile Australia says I can through them. Should I wait for Amazon? I don't know what the Nile Australia is, so let me have a look and see what it is. Oh, it's a bookstore in Australia. Okay, let's have a look. I didn't know I was even in this. Right, okay. Well, there you go. You live and learn, don't you? That's brilliant. I mean, I didn't know I was in there. We'll definitely look to get the book in bookshops in Australia, America, and Canada. I can't answer your question, Anna, with any credibility, given that you just told me something I didn't know. If they say it's available on pre-order, that's fine. If you, in a way, it would be beneficial for me if you wait for Amazon, because Amazon's a big platform where we need to get reviews. But if the Nile is if it's a big, I don't know anything about how many reviews you'd get on. Is it a big reviewing platform? If it's a platform where there's a lot of reviews and it creates a big footprint, then it's fine. But if you can do a review, Anna, then please wait for Amazon, because it will be available in all formats on Amazon Australia, no doubt. That's a certainty. Australia is the second biggest country on this for my channel. Obviously, Britain is miles ahead, but Australia is even ahead of Ireland. Australia is my second biggest market, which is, I think, probably because of the documentary that was done down there, maybe because of Kathleen to some extent. So, yeah, you're absolutely entitled to do whatever you want, but if you want to if you could wait for Amazon Australia and do a review, that's always appreciated. But it's your call, obviously. As a parent of 3 adult children, I think you're right, Chris. It's likely worse for her parents, and that's taking nothing from the horrendous experience Lucy has had and is still having. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they're just going through such an awful, awful time. Feels so terrible for them. So yeah, Anna. So regarding Amazon, it will be there. It'll be there. It might not be there now, but it will be there on launch day. That's already ready to go. Just because of certain technical reasons to do with publishing that I'm really not going to bore you with, but it'll be ready to go in all formats in Australia on the day of publication. So you can get the book in ebook format and audiobook format on the day in Australia. You may have to wait a couple of days for a pre-order to arrive, possibly. I can't say that with any total confidence, because there's so many factors that I not only have no control over, but don't understand and know nothing about. But it's interesting to see that it's on the Nile, because I've never even heard of the Nile, let alone did I know my book was on there. But that's interesting to see. Curator Faye signing off. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Thank you to Home in Balmy Palmy. Appreciate your support. I will keep working hard. Yes, and the audiobook will come out at the same time. The audiobook you can get on the 9th of July in Australia, definitely, no doubt. And literally, the audiobook will be available in every country in the world that has an internet connection, and certainly every country that has Amazon. I was talking about the audiobook today, so I don't know about all the platforms, but it's going to be on Audible. It's going to be on Amazon. We want it to be on Spotify. We want it to be on Apple. So if you can get an internet connection, you'll be able to get the audiobook on the day that it comes out, 100%. But if you could buy it via Amazon, that's helpful for me, because you can review it. Another thing, let me just mention as well, when you're doing reviews, obviously I'd like you to listen or read the book first, or at least a good portion of it, and get it's good of course to review as soon as possible, but I don't just want you to review before you can give a credible opinion. Thank you, Chris, for your hard work and dedication. I'm looking forward to obtaining your book. I hope she experiences freedom soon. Thanks again. I really appreciate the support. It's enormously appreciated. Let's go a bit further down. Yeah, so people are talking about the rumours are talking about this rumour that the Court of Appeal will receive the case at Christmas, but I don't know anything about that, so I can't tell you anything. Hi, Chris. Someone accused you of not being an expert, and hence you shouldn't be talking about the things you're currently talking about. So I've never claimed to be an expert. I'm not an expert. I never present myself as being an expert. I never really give my opinion on anything that would require expertise. I am an expert on the analysis of language, and if I wish to give my opinion on that, then that's better than 99.999% of people in the world. I never give my opinion on medical matters because I'm not qualified. That's why I've got so many experts on the channel. That's why there are many other experts in my book that you haven't heard from. That's why there'll be more experts in the future. That's why there are other experts I've spoken to and have connected with who are not in my book or on the channel. So the idea that I present myself as being an expert is erroneous. Frankly, it's a stupid thing to say. Let's go a bit further down. I mean, with regard to the book, I mean, I'm not sure if people have noticed this, but not every book in the world is written by someone who's an expert on the topic. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but there are these things called authors who write books on topics about which they are not inherently an expert. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of that, but if you go to your local bookshop or indeed look stuff up online, it won't take you an enormous amount of time to find books on non-fiction subjects that are written by people who are not experts. Let's carry on. So that's a very kind remark, Richard. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. He just said, "I'd like to be like you when I grow up. I'm currently 61." Well, that's really nice of you to say that. I'm not sure what to say to that, but it's a very kind remark. Cheerio to Rachel. Glad you can be here and glad you can comment now. Good luck with your job interview. Sock it to them. Yeah, and I really appreciate your comments. I really appreciate your support. It really means a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'll just show this comment. How can people say the only explanation of the insulin C-peptide seen in the baby is exogenous when we have case examples of babies with the same levels that weren't given insulin? So I think it's fairly clear now that they can't. And this is yet another very important item of evidence for Lucy. I mean, she's got an enormously powerful series of evidence in her defense now. So, yeah, that's very positive for her. Have you any idea or guesstimate of what Evans was paid for being an expert witness? It'll be hundreds of thousands of pounds, realistically, but I don't know for sure. I can't give an exact figure, but it will be a six-figure sum. That is a certainty. Hi, Thomas. I think Thomas has to go now. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. And thanks for Kathleen for being here as well. Really appreciate it. And Darren as well. Thank you for being here. It's bedtime for people now. I've gone past bedtime, I can tell. But people have got to get up for work. So thank you to everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. Let's go a bit further down. Cadbury's taste nasty now. I still like it. I've seen people saying that, but I still love a Cadbury's whole nut, to be honest. But yeah, it's probably not as good as it used to be. Everything gets reduced in quality, doesn't it? As corporations take over everything. So sorry, why don't I get the notification of live? Sorry, Casey. Tonight, it was very short notice. So I don't know why YouTube didn't notify you of it. That's something I have no control over. One of the things you can do is if you're subscribed, I assume you subscribe to the channel, there's like a bell you can click on. So if you click on the bell, I never tell people to do this. I should tell people to do this more often, like at all, in fact. But if you click on the bell, you're more likely to get notifications. So I'm reliably informed. So I can't control that. But please bear in mind, Casey, that the recordings will come up soon. You'll be able to see the recordings. So please feel free to watch the recordings and hopefully you can make the next live. We're drawing this to a close now, but I'm just going through the last questions. Thank you to Grey Goose. I'm glad you're looking forward to the book and I'm glad you're enjoying the work. Dogs eating Christmas dinner, whatever next. Well, I don't spoil. I mean, I do spoil her. I don't know why I'm going to claim I don't spoil Kate, because I very obviously do. But I'm not like one of those people that gives her like stupid presents or pretend that it's her birthday. But when it's Christmas, like the one thing I can do to it, like I don't want to give her Christmas presents. She doesn't understand, but she does love a nice dinner. So I do like to make her. Like I don't eat meat, so I have vegan sausages or vegan pigs in blankets for Christmas dinner. So I'll make her like mashed potato, roast potatoes, sprouts, Yorkshire puddings. I'll make. I know that's not traditional Christmas, but we make it anyway. And then like vegan pigs in blankets, and she will sit down. She loves loves that. So yeah, I like to make her a few dinners. Sometimes I'll make a steak, chicken she has. Yeah, I'll make sure I spoil her. She gets looked after. I'm glad you enjoyed my description of Dowie. I'm glad you found that amusing. Yeah, I'll wait for Amazon. Thanks, Chris. No problem, Anna. No problem. Hi there, Chris. Hope you're well. And Kiko feels like forever waiting for the book. Can't wait. So I know it will do. I know it will do to other people. To me, it feels like it's passed by really quickly, and I'm sure the next 2 months will feel like they're passed by really quickly. But yeah, it's been a long time, a long wait since I announced it. I know, but me and Keeks are great. Keeks is good as gold, good as ever, full of beans, impossible to tire out. Usual. Have you heard anything back from Dowie about a possible interview? So all I've heard is what I've written on this channel. The other day he was commenting on LinkedIn, right? Now, if someone happened to show me this, I'm not looking for it. And he raised a load of points. Now, I've already trashed everything he said previously. But anyway, he's going to have to do better than this when the book comes out. I'll tell you that for nothing. But yeah, no further efforts. I've tried. I've given him the chance to be interviewed. He'll get the right to reply. If he ignores that, we'll see what happens after the book comes out. Already fell asleep at cinema this afternoon, staying up not to miss a thing. Thanks, Catherine. Glad you're here. Really appreciate it as always. I feel the amount taxpayers' fund have spent on witnesses should probably be public knowledge. I agree, and it probably is available somewhere. I don't know if it is, but yeah, it's a lot of money. Thanks, Connell. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Thanks to DI for being here. Good night. Have sleep well. Appreciate you being here. And thanks to Stuart. Thanks to Patricia. Thanks to Glennis. Thanks to Casey. I'm subscribed and clicked on the bell anyway. It's probably just a blip in the system. Yeah. It's annoying, isn't it? Annoying. I don't know what else you can do about it, but thanks for being here, and hopefully you'll get properly notified for the next one. So I'm planning for the next one to be on the 20th of May. So I'll try and do the 20th of May and the 30th of May. Now, 8 days have to happen until then, so I can't guarantee that it will be on the 20th of May, but that's my aim, for it to be on the 20th. So kind of every 10 days. I couldn't do one on the 10th because I was too busy, but I'm trying to be 12th, 20th, 30th. Because I'm moving house, I don't know what I'll do for live streams in the future, whether there'll be more in June or what's going to happen, but I'll just do the best I can with the channel, and I'll keep everyone informed. Good night to Lynn. I'm glad that you feel positive. I really appreciate your support, and what I do for Lucy's no problem. And cheerio to Yeld and cheerio to Margaret. So I've reached the bottom of the comments. So it's that time where I say cheerio. Kiko is looking, you should see how curled up she is. Are you in a ball, Cakes? Are you hungry? Are you hungry for something to eat? Would you like something to eat? Would Kiko like something? Come on then. Up comes Kiko. Are you coming? No, she's not. She's really is settling in for these live streams nowadays, and she's not going to come up, but I'll try and get her up in the future. You going to come up? You going to come and see me? No, she's not. Yeah, she was just in such a happy ball, but we do have to move her now because as soon as I get up, she'll want to get up. So yeah, thanks to everyone for being here as always, and I'll see you all again soon. Michelle interview coming this week, and some other stuff, and then Martin Pittman interview coming. So thanks for being here, and just if you want to watch the recording, just remember it'll take me a few minutes to set it up. So cheerio.